This video is brought to you by Sporlan, quality, integrity, and tradition.
Well, today we're going on a trip. We're taking a rocket ship. We're going to zoom through the skies. All right, maybe you get my little funny pun there, but I didn't film much, but this weekend was chaos for me. We had a tiny heat wave come through. We hit about 105, 106 in my area. Nothing too crazy, but everything hit the fan. Yesterday I got called out here. This guy had a plugged up condenser. It was off on high pressure. When I turned it back on, this condenser fan motor was failing. So by the time I was here, it was like 8 in the evening, 8:15 is when I left. It was cooling down. I left him with only one condenser fan motor running. Got it going. Cleaned this condenser while we were there. Came back this morning. Gonna put a condenser fan motor in it. Get it running. Basically, we're just triaging things, putting fires out to come back, clean it up, and do what we gotta do. Also saw that this contactor wasn't looking good. We're going to change that. Hopefully get this guy up and running. Boy, it was running all night. They also have an ice machine down, and then a bunch of other calls too that I was out on last night. It was kind of crazy. So, all right, why am I using a 9721 motor? Well, it's hard to find the OEM Heatcraft motors, and the 9721 is a really good truck stock item. Technically, it's an evaporator fan motor. It works just the same. If you look at it, it's pretty much the same motor, built the same, has ball bearings. They're good motors, they last. Out in the desert, you probably only get about a year, year and a half, maybe 2 years at the most out of condenser fan motors. Doesn't matter what brand, even if you go OEM. But on these 9721s work perfect for me. They're multi-volt. I personally don't like using them as evaporator motors because there's way too much stuff in there. The shafts are too long. It's just a pain in the butt. They're multi-volt, so you got to wire them right. When I'm installing them, I like to leave the hub loose, and I did, or the blade loose, and then I set it once I get it in there, and then just use my long Allen to tighten it. So I'm going to tighten that blade down. It's right where I want it, and then we'll wire it up. And then I also cleaned, I rinsed the condenser yesterday, but I cleaned it with cleaner today. Rinsed everything down. Even rinsing it, there was a bunch of dirt, but using the cleaner, I used the Refrigeration Technologies aerosol red can cleaner. Worked perfect. So, all right, we are installed, wired up, cleaned up. Wires are safe, not going to rub, and if I did everything right, it's not going to blow up, and it's going to go in the right direction, possibly. There we go. That's correct. So we're going to go ahead and let it run for a bit, and then I'm going to look in here at this contactor. We're blowing a little water out because there's still a little water trapped in the coil. So when I see this white powdery stuff on the side of the contactor, it usually is an indicator that there's something going on inside of it. Not always, but most of the time. So when I see that on a preventative maintenance or on a routine service call, it leads me to investigate further. So we're going to pop that cover off. This is an original contactor. This was installed 3/4 of 2020, right? So it's about 4 years old. I can tell it's original because it has the C1 sticker, and nobody's going to take that off an old one and put it on a new one. Yeah, let me pop it off and have a look. So the back of this shows that there was arcing, and there's always going to be arcing on an open contactor. A lot of people ask me why in the heck don't we use like totally sealed, because they usually can't handle the current and the startup current that we have on a lot of these things. They tend to not be able to handle it. Just my experience, plus they're really, really expensive, and customers don't typically want to pay that much. But yeah, inside here is all burnt. Really bad. So we're gonna get this guy swapped out. I brought a contactor with me too. So I knew this last night. I looked at all this. I knew I was bringing back a motor, and I knew that contactor looked bad. So I picked one up at the supply house this morning. Yeah, that thing's pretty bad. Get it out in the sun, and it's just all burnt inside of there. So, and it has a short cycle timer too. So it's just done. Had to get a little creative because the old one had multiple flag terminal male guys right here, and this one only had singles. So just use a few Wagos, followed the wires back, spliced them in the Wagos, so that way we're not, you know, doing too much in there. But if I did everything right, this shouldn't blow up. Odds, I don't know, let's see, 1 2 3. Is the phase rotation incorrect? Let's check that again. No, let's try it again. Oh, it probably won't start up because of the time delay. Let's try this again. Yeah, the time delay is a problem. Something sounds weird. What is it? I'll have to look and see. Maybe I did something wrong. I don't think I did though. There's nothing wrong. It was just making a funny sound on startup. It's running fine now. I'm holding in the contactor because it's waiting on the delay. But yeah, we're good. So I'll just wait for the delay to kick in, make sure everything else is good. But we should be good. Watch it operate for a few minutes. I gotta work on their ice machines next. So, and we are operating. So everything's good. It's running on its own. So like I said, I'm gonna watch this operate while I'm working on their ice machine. So I'm gonna put all the panels on and button it up. This one, the ice machine, this is the condenser. It's going off on high pressure cutout. Now the condenser's dirty, but it's not that dirty. So I come up here, waited a minute, it turned back on, and the condenser fan motor didn't turn on with the compressor. I bypassed the fan cycle switch and the condenser fan motor turns on. So we've got a bad fan cycle switch, very common on these Manitowocks. So I need to install a new fan cycle, and hopefully we should be off to the races after that. I'm also going to chemically clean these condensers because they're really bad. We'll do them both. This one though, yesterday when I was here, the machine was completely empty. They were out of ice. This one was making ice, it just wasn't keeping up. This condenser was really dirty. This one had nothing on it. So this one's been down for a while, and then just the heat wave hit, and then they realized that they were down an ice machine. That's pretty typical to find that. So I'm gonna install a fan cycle switch, clean the condensers, and then hopefully, like I said, we'll be good. They have so many low spots on this roof, it's like impossible to get the water away, but luckily I have it away on the condenser side, so you can actually see light through the condenser now, you guys. There's not a bunch of junk and dirt in there anymore. Like, oh yeah, nice and good. Polishing a turd. Got the fan cycle switch installed. Cut out 200, cut in 250. We just use a quick connect right here. It's all safe, nothing's gonna rub out. Use some cord coming around through. It's just acting as a switch, go into the condenser fan motor. So I'm gonna tuck that back in, get all the panels put back on, and then we'll go downstairs and watch the ice machine operate. This one's been working. This is the one that's not working. So. Condenser fan motor over here started up on the left. This one was already working. This one started up and then it shut off, so the fan cycle switch is working. It's cycling because we still have a wet condenser. So I still got to clean up my hoses, roll them up, wash them and dry them. So I'll let these two run, make sure they make ice before I take off. Normally we'll stay here and everything, but it's just a crazy day. My hose, I only brought up one hose, so I went ahead and rinsed all the ACs I could reach. Tell them to create a work order for the other ACs because they all need to be washed. These need to be properly washed too, but I just rinsed them really quick. And we're in a harvest. So it's about to dump ice. Watch it drop a batch from each side, and then we'll move on to the next one. They could certainly use a little cleaning on this bad boy too. This one right here is about to drop too. There's one side. And here goes this side over here. One. And let's see the other side drop. It's a little slower. There it goes. There we go. We're good to go. And condenser fan motor's off. There he goes. It's a little bit higher than 250, but that'll be okay. Should be good to go. Those controls are never 100%, but it should be fine.
This video was from, let's see, June 24th of 2024. It is now August 21st, so this is almost 2 months ago, and the summer just got worse from there. This was literally the start. This was like the first little heat wave that we got, and then it just hit us like a brick wall and just kept coming. It's been chaos. I have been having to deal with a lot of, disaster scenarios. I don't know. I mean, not disaster, but it's just been chaos. And we've been doing this kind of stuff a lot where you get a heat wave come through. You have to just go triage a bunch of stuff. I went out there that night, and then I was a bunch of other restaurants. It was just chaos that entire weekend, week, whatever it was. It was just insane. And it's funny because you look back on it and you're like, in the beginning, the summer started really slow, and then boom, it just hit us. And we're still in the thick of it. It's August 21st, but it's slowly tapering off. Like, we're getting cooler nights now. So it's 2-3 months of just chaos, and then it's slowly tapering off. We're still going to have hot days. Southern California is still going to be warm as usual. We're going into the fall weather, and it's still going to be, in the 90s, 100 during the day, and then it drops down to like, depending on, the weather, sometimes it'll drop down into the 80s, sometimes it'll drop down into the 60s. It just kind of rubber bands back and forth. But this was insane, and this was not the only craziness from that entire week. Like, there's been a lot of footage. I've been, my footage is never all in order. It's just kind of what I really want to put out. Sometimes, like, I'll have a really stressful weekend and I really don't want to review the footage. Like, I'm just like, I'll just leave that alone for a month or two, just because you get like PTSD from it. Like, I don't really want to go back and edit that footage because it's still messed up my head still. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just kind of weird. I don't know. My brain works really odd. But So the initial call was a walk-in cooler not working, and they put in a work order saying, or walk-in freezer not working, and they put in a work order saying their ice machine wasn't working. So I went out there, like I said, triaged it, cleaned the condenser really quick, found a bad condenser fan motor, but it was cooling off already that evening, so it was operating. They made it through the night, and then, you know, went back out the next day and, you know, brought the parts that I needed. So that's another really important thing I think that, you know, maybe someone can take away from this, right? You know, the whole idea of these videos is they're really for my employees. And then obviously I realize that other people watch them or entertained by them, or they get knowledge or whatever you want to call it from it, right? But, you know, even though I'm stressed, even though I got a lot going on, I'm out there, I see the initial problems, but I'm listening, I'm looking, I'm aware. So that way, when I come back, maybe I can save a little time. So in this situation, I knew I had a bad condenser fan motor. I opened up the electrical. The contactor looked like it might be bad. So I went ahead and brought a contactor with me. I had a hunch on the ice machine, bypassed it, put the fan cycle, bypassed the fan cycle switch, got it going, brought a fan cycle switch with me too. Now, I try to go OEM on my parts, but there's certain things that it's just not practical. Those condenser fan motors, I mean, if I can, I'll go back with OEM, but if it's a last-minute situation and all I have in my truck is a 9721, then boom, that's what it's going to go in there, right? Fan cycle switches, the Manitowoc fan cycle switches are pure garbage. Just trash. The only time I'm using a Manitowoc fan cycle switch is if the machine is still under warranty, because Manitowoc is going to give us the part. If I have a choice, we're going to go back in with a pen adjustable fan cycle switch that will last the life of the machine, okay? It's very rare that those pen fan cycle switches don't last, okay? They do really, really well. So I went ahead and put the fan cycle switch in there, cleaned the condenser. You guys saw that. Now, you don't always have to use the brightener cleaners like that one. That one had a lot of grease in it. So that's why I use the blue brightener cleaner. If it's just mild grease, then you can use the yellow Venom Pack, which is non-corrosive, won't damage anything. The brightener cleaner, you have to understand, when you use that, you are taking off a layer of the condenser coil every time you use it. So you notice how it got really shiny? Okay, that's because with the dirt came the top layer of the aluminum. Okay, so that's why it's so dangerous to use brightener cleaners on microchannel condensers, because on a microchannel, the aluminum is what's holding the refrigerant back. On a tube and fin like this one, the aluminum is helping with heat transfer, but there's copper lines in there that are holding the refrigerant back, right? So you still got to be careful, but you know, when customers don't do routine maintenance, when they have their equipment located next to exhaust fans and it's really greasy, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Okay, you got to use these corrosive cleaners because that's the only thing that's going to get it clean. But you need to understand something, and watching the footage is a perfect example. It doesn't have to be uniform, shiny, clean. As long as you can see through the condenser and there's not a buildup of grease on it, it's good. Okay, so I wasn't stressing about making it all look super shiny. I was just worried about it being clean. Okay, so, you know, keep that in mind. It doesn't have to look all uniform, shiny, clean, because that just means that you put way too much cleaner on there and it just basically stripped off a crap ton of the aluminum, right? So I know this wasn't like a full, complete, step-by-step video like usual, but sometimes that's all that my videos are. You know, my days are just insane through this summer. So it is what it is. I really appreciate you making it to the end of the video. Thank you so very much. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. Leave me some feedback down in the comments. Shoot me an email, hvacrvideos@gmail.com. If you're interested in supporting the channel, you know the easiest way to support this channel is literally just watch the videos from beginning to end. That really is the easiest way. It doesn't cost you anything. You can financially support it too if you choose to do so. There'll be links in the show notes of this video for PayPal, Patreon, and YouTube channel memberships. As a YouTube channel member, you're just making a monthly commitment basically, and it donates whatever you want to donate on a monthly basis. And oftentimes, if you're a YouTube channel member, you'll get early access to the videos if I get them up in time. So like, for instance, this video will likely be available to channel members, you know, 12 to 15 hours before it'll be available to the general public. So if you ever are like one of the first people to watch my video and you see there's like 12 comments already, or 12 views, or 15 views, or whatever it is, that's because it was made available early to the YouTube channel members. I wish I could do it to Patreon too, but I just can't. It's just a pain in the butt. There's a couple other ways to support the channel too. TrueTechTools.com. If you see any of the tools that I use, the Viper cleaners, the Viper coil gun, you can pick those up from TrueTechTools.com. If you use my affiliate code, big picture, one word, you will get an 8% discount on majority of the items on their website, and then I get a small commission from that purchase, okay? It doesn't apply to everything, but it applies to majority of the items on their website. Last but not least, you can go to my website, HVACRvideos.com, where we have merchandise available, hats, beanies. Actually, we're out of beanies right now. There's a few sweatshirts left, but we're phasing the sweatshirts out. We're phasing the sweatshirts and the t-shirts out. We're basically just eventually going to get to hats, beanies, and stickers because that's really the only thing that sells. Maybe someday I'll do another t-shirt or something like that, but I've lost my butt on the t-shirts and the sweatshirts just because I ordered so many of them and they just don't sell. And it's not a big deal. I mean, they're nice quality and stuff, but for whatever reason, people just like the hats. So it's all good. But yeah, get them while they last. HVACRvideos.com. Again, thank you so very much. I really do appreciate you. And we will catch you on the next one.